All right, so my name is Edward Powell, president of the NAACP Gwinnett County Branch. I want to thank everybody for showing up today, the media, supporters of the Jones family, members of our organization. At this time, we're here for the press conference for Ms. Jalen Evans Jones, and so I'm going to let them tell their story before I read my statement. So at this time, I allow Mrs. Jalen Evans Jones and her husband, Mr. Eric Jones, tell their truth.
Jalen Evans Jones, here today seeking justice for what I consider to be a travesty. On August 13th, 2023, I was shot through a closed door by my upstairs neighbor. On August 13th, I woke up that morning to take my cousin to the airport. It was a very early morning for us, about 7 a.m. We woke up to a lot of noise in my upstairs apartment from me. It had been going on since a week prior when they moved in, and this was Sunday. 7 days had passed. I thought, okay, they're moving in. We'll let them get settled. On August 13th, I took my cousin to the airport. 7:30. The noise was already blaring in that apartment. I got back home around 11. Noise was blaring all day. The noise was blaring in that apartment. So after quiet hours in the community, my husband and I thought we would be neighborly because everyone in our building was neighborly. So we thought we would go upstairs to introduce ourselves to our new neighbors and try to do the neighborly thing. And upon knocking on the door, there was no answer. There was no go away, who is it, what do you want? We knocked on the door and was immediately met with somebody through a closed door. So I was shot through a closed door. And the bullet struck me in my abdomen, damaging several of my internal organs, as well as in my right hand and wrist, to where I am now disabled, have very limited use of that hand at all. And I'm seeking justice because justice was not served. I never knew that neighbor. I never met him, never saw him with my eyes. And so for that to happen, it just was, the words can't explain. Because that could have been anybody at that door. And to be treated by the justice system as if I was a criminal or as if I didn't matter, it's outrageous.
On this particular evening, prior to knocking on the shooter's door, we first approached the neighbor in front of the shooter's apartment and spoke with her briefly and asked her if she herself heard the noise disturbance that we had been enduring the entire day. She stated that she thought it was noise coming from the pool because earlier that day they had a pool party, which was canceled because of, I guess, obnoxious behavior. But anyway, she came outside of the door, took her head to the right of her door towards the shooter's door so she could observe the noise, and she did hear the noise that we were complaining of. And I stated at that particular time that I was going to be neighborly since I did not know this gentleman. I was going to knock on his door and politely ask him to lower the music. Before any words could be stated, the reason why we were there, or anyone from that apartment asking, who is it? Why are you at our door? The music stopped. I heard a racking of a gun, and suddenly a bullet shot through the door, striking my wife. We ran from that point immediately to the parking lot because she wanted me to get her to the hospital for medical attention. I then realized that I did not have my keys. Stated to her, babe, I'm sorry, I don't have my keys. I got to go down to the apartment to get them. I'll be right back. I ran down to the apartment. While I'm running down to the apartment, I'm calling 911. I'm on the phone with them. I run into my apartment. I retrieve my keys, my wallet, and my gun. Because at this particular time, I'm not sure if there's still imminent danger, being that I will have to run back past the shooter's door a second time. So I ran back upstairs, and at this particular time, supposedly the witness that the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office, Miss Patsy Austin Gaston, stated that this particular witness witnessed me with the gun. They did not state that they witnessed me with the gun at the time when I knocked on their door initially to ask them in reference to the noise disturbance. It's only after the shooting occurred is when there was a mention of me having a gun. My first encounter trying to arrange a meeting with the District Attorney's Office, I met with Assistant District Attorney Norris Lewis. My first encounter with him is he told me my impression was of an angry black man. What did he expect me to be? That my wife was just shot from an unprovoked attack by a shooter behind a closed door. On that same night, the Detective Battersby, decided to go before the judge and plead to lessen the charge to a misdemeanor versus it being charged as a felony, aggravated battery, or aggravated assault as it initially was submitted. But he requested that the judge lower the charges. The shooter has been treated as the victim. I myself have been treated as if I were the actual shooter. There has been no justice given. There has been no real investigations done whatsoever. The solicitor's office, when the case first was brought to their attention, the investigator as well as the solicitor's office recommended that these charges be upgraded to a felony because they themselves, after their investigation, concluded that this indeed deserved to be a felony because you did not blindly just shoot someone behind a door. I'm not trying to make this a race issue, but had this been myself as the shooter shooting this individual, then we would not even be having this press conference. If we were having a press conference, it would be my family pleading to get me out of jail. Because justice would have been given rapidly right then.
And let me, before I read my statement, can you also talk about how your pastor at Hopewell tried to set up a mediation between you and the DA and what she advised you and your wife?
Yes. The DA, from time to time, visits Hopewell Missionary Baptist Church, located in Norcross, Georgia, under the leadership of Bishop William L. Shields. I had spoken with Bishop Shields on numerous occasions in reference to this particular incident. He is acquaintances. I don't know the level of their friendship between the two. However, on one particular Sunday we were at church, he formally introduced us to Miss Gatson, although I had already had a previous meeting with her. In the meeting that we had, she told my wife, thank God that she's still alive, and to pray. That was her only response. Someone who shows a lack of passion, who is a mother, a grandmother, a daughter, who just looks at this as if I myself did something out of the ordinary that was not normal for anyone to just approach their neighbor in a neighborly way to ask them to lower the music. What she's doing now by dismissing the case is setting a very dangerous precedent, not only in the state of Georgia, but all over the United States, that it is okay for an individual, if they feel threatened, that someone's there at their door, that they can shoot blindly behind a closed door and no charges will be brought against them. This is why I continue to fight so hard for justice.
Thank you for that, Mr. Jones. So I'll go ahead with my statement, and my second vice president of our organization will read the statement from my state president of the Georgia State Conference, Attorney Gerald Briggs, who Unfortunately, because of the court case he was working on, he wasn't able to be here today. So first, I want to thank sincerely to thank the Jones family for taking this necessary and courageous step today. I know how difficult it is to stand in front of these cameras once again, pleading for a justice system that has consistently failed to deliver justice, especially when it comes to Black victims of violence. So for those who don't know me, my name is Edward Powell, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the NAACP Gwinnett County Branch. As I stated earlier, State President Griggs could not be here, but he does send his full support and prayers to the Jones family. Now let me be clear. The events that brought us here today are not only just heartbreaking, but they're shameful. On Tuesday, June 3rd, we went to the Gwinnett County District Attorney's office to seek answers and accountability from District Attorney Cassie Oscar-Gass regarding this case. Instead of compassion or concern, we were met with contempt. When we asked basic questions about the failure to pursue charges in the Jalen Evans Jones case, we were told verbatim, "Get the hell out of my office." Let that sink in. The president of the NAACP, sworn in by this very district attorney earlier this year in January, was ordered out simply for demanding justice on behalf of a grieving family. What we've seen throughout this case is that nearly every actor involved that treated Mrs. Evans Jones like the victim, except the district attorney's office. The police officer and the detectives who responded to the scene listed her as a victim. Solicitor General Marie Bristow believed that the assailant should face felony charges and escalated this case to the district attorney's office, treated Mrs. Jones like a victim. The case reached District Attorney Gadsden. It was dropped, dismissed, erased, and with it, so was Miss Evans Jones' voice, her pain, and her right to justice. During our meeting, we also raised some concerns about other mishandled cases under the District Attorney's watch, like Jokisha Brown, whose kidnapper walks free due to filing delays, like Courtney Owens, who was murdered by someone close to her, yet her killer was never held accountable, like Bradley Coleman, whose case still remains unanswered. Rather than accountability from the district attorney's office, we were given arrogance. Rather than transparency, we were gaslit. Rather than compassion, we were shown the door. District attorneys are supposed to protect the people, not belittle them, not ignore them, and certainly not silence them. So that's why today we are calling on Governor Brian Kemp and Attorney General Chris Carr to immediately reopen the Jalen Evans Jones case. We are also demanding an independent investigation into the conduct of the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office. Attorney General Carr, we have multiple complaints that have been sent to your office. From the Lewis twins case, to our complaint on GCPS, for Open Meetings Act violations, and we received nothing in return. Silence is complicity. You cannot claim you seek our votes by failing to answer the calls of our community when we need you the most. If you wish to lead this state as governor one day, then you need to show us you can lead now. Use the power of your office to enforce the law, to protect the vulnerable, to hold wrongdoers accountable, regardless of their political connections. And let me end this by saying this. Justice delayed is justice denied. But silence in the face of injustice is betrayal. We will not be silent. We will not be intimidated. And we will not allow Black pain to be dismissed or diminished. To the Jones family, we see you. We believe you. We will fight by your side until justice is done. And to the elected officials who continue to fail our communities, know this: the NAACP Gwinnett County Branch will bring accountability to your door, either in your office or in the ballot box. Thank you.
This is a direct result, Patsy Austin, of prayer. That that is what you told me to do, standing in the church. And I prayed, and God is in control. He answered my prayer. So thank you, NAACP. Thank you, God.
All right, at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to our second vice president to read the statement from our state president, Attorney Gerald Green.
Former Attorney Grigg. The Georgia State Conference of the NAACP stands in full support of the formal request for an independent review of the Gwinnett County District Attorney's decision to dismiss all charges in the case involving Ms. Jalen Evans Jones. On June 26, 2023, Ms. Evans Jones suffered catastrophic injuries, including the permanent loss of use of her right arm, after being shot through a closed door by Alejandro Morales. Despite the severity of this violent act, the District Attorney's Office chose to dismiss the case without ever interviewing or consulting Mrs. Evans Jones, and without providing any meaningful explanation to the community. This decision is deeply troubling and raised significant concerns about the transparency, prosecutorial discretion, and adherence to victims' rights under Georgia's law. The failure to engage with Mrs. Evans Jones before dismissing the case may constitute a violation of the Georgia Crime Victims' Bills of Rights, especially under OCGA 17-15-1 and 17-17-9, which mandates that victims be kept informed and consulted on critical prosecutorial decisions. As Georgia's oldest and largest civil rights organization, we are committed to ensuring justice is applied fairly and equitably, regardless of a person's race, gender, or socioeconomic status. The handling of this case undermines community trust and sends a chilling message to victims of violent crime. Accordingly, we respectfully urge the Office of the Attorney General to exercise its authority under OCGA 45-15-35 to initiate an independent review of this matter. If warranted, we further request the appointment of a special prosecutor to restore confidence in the pursuit of justice of Mr. Evans Jones and all crime victims in Georgia. We are prepared to provide any additional information necessary to support a full and fair review and appreciate your commitment to upholding the integrity of Georgia's justice system. In solidarity, Gerald A. Grigg, Esquire, President of Georgia State Conference and NAACP. I'd like to take a moment to point out some things that you can find in the police report. One, Mr. Jones started his pursuit of justice with a call to 911. He called to ask if they could send someone out to handle the noise, opposed to him doing it himself. He was denied that service. Another thing, their witness statements indicates from one of the witnesses that when the shooter turned down the music, he then retrieved his gun. He loaded his gun, racked his gun, and while racking his gun, the shot went off, and the next thing that the shooter said, per the witness, that's part of the witness statements, is that he said it just went off. That corresponds to with the initial report was of reckless conduct because he had been drinking since 3 in the afternoon, per his own admission, from 3 to 10. There was never any toxicology taken or any that I know of. It's not in the police report. I read the police report cover to cover. But that's why they recommended least reckless conduct, because he never went to the door based on anyone else of the witnesses' statements. He never went to the door. He never opened the door. He simply, on approach, had a negative discharge. Everyone says after the negative discharge, he unloaded the gun and sat it on the counter, and that's where it remained. And it's in the same position as the witnesses say it was when CSI picked it up, and their report says that's when it was. He was on the phone with 911, but he went back to his apartment to retrieve his gun. When you follow what he says, it all aligns up exactly with police report, the police, the 911 call, the times of the 911 call, all correlates. He went downstairs to his apartment to get his keys, as he said. He's on his ring camera. The ring camera shows him coming down the steps to his apartment with his phone in his ear to 911 and his keys in his hand. When he first approaches the first witness, before he goes to the apartment, there's no report from that witness that he had a weapon. She reports that he had a weapon after he came back from the steps. That's when she saw him after the shot. He had made it back up the stairs. As you can tell, he's on the phone. You can listen to the 911 call and hear what's happening as he's doing it, as he goes past his ring camera. They're telling him not to leave the scene because he was going to take his wife to the hospital. 911 is telling him not to leave the scene. It's an active shooting scene. Why wouldn't he grab his gun? And then she sees him, if you know the way the apartment is arranged, as he's going past the apartment to go to the parking lot to take care of his wife and follow the instructions of the 911, which is telling him to lay her down and apply pressure, but not leave the scene. She has, the 911 caller is saying she has rescue or EMS en route. You can follow the 911 call and see the timestamps on it. You can match it all up. It was very clear that nothing that this man said in terms of his own statement is unmatched by all of the witnesses and the witness statement. He went up there unarmed. There's no evidence that he was armed. I'll give an example. I can give an example of myself. If I had been armed, stood in front of a door, and someone shot my wife through the door, and my gun was already, as the shooter explained, pointed at the door, why wouldn't I have unleashed everything I had? Doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Secretary Vice President. So at this time, we'll take questions from the media, since our statements have been given. Well, as Attorney Gerald Griggs just read in his statement, and we've been getting a lot of that from the AG's office, that they don't have any jurisdiction, but I'll read you my response via email, because I also got that same, and it's funny how they're responding now. That email we sent, we sent that weeks ago, and now they have something to say when, we've been trying to communicate with their office about this situation multiple times, about this case and other cases, but now all of a sudden, I guess we got to do nothing. The State Attorney General's office now, it does nothing. They don't have jurisdiction over anything. And I agree with the Constitution and some of the statutes say in my response back to them. So my response was verbatim via email. Thank you for your response regarding our inquiry into the Evans Jones case. However, we must respectfully disagree with the assertion that your office lacks jurisdiction in this matter. Under OCGA 45-15-10, I'll read that again so y'all can look it up. 45-15-10. The Attorney General is granted the authority to institute and prosecute appropriate legal proceedings on behalf of the state in any matter affecting general public interest. I think this will qualify, but I'll keep going. When directed by the governor or when public interest requires. I think public interest requires in this case. If it doesn't, if you all are watching today, y'all please send an email to the AG's office asking him to get involved. I'll keep going. This includes matters involving potential misconduct by public officials or a miscarriage of justice within the state judicial system. Moreover, OCGA 15-18-6 establishes that district attorneys are subject to the removal of misconduct, and the Attorney General may assist in or investigate such matters when warranted. We believe that the documented behavior of the district attorney's office toward Ms. Evans Jones, including failure to treat her as a victim and denying her protections outlined in the Crime Victims Bill of Rights, raises substantial concerns that merit your office attention. This is OCGA 17-17-1. Finally, the Georgia Constitution authorizes the Attorney General to provide oversight when local law enforcement or prosecutorial discretion appears to have been abused in ways that erode public trust. Given these provisions, we respectfully request your office reconsiders its position. So again, in reading that, as I stated and outlined, both how the Constitution and the laws that are currently on the books empowers the state AG to get involved. And again, I don't know how somebody gets shot through a closed door is not eroding public trust. I mean, you tell me.
How incredibly difficult these last couple of years been?
Very difficult. Very difficult. Incredibly difficult. You can't even imagine. And I would not wish it on anyone. They have been overwhelmingly difficult. Because they just don't want to do their job, obviously. Because we pleaded with them and begged them to investigate. At least do that. At least that's the least you can do. I feel like I deserve that much courtesy. Anybody who this happened to would have deserved the least of you verifying, checking, instead of treating us like we were criminals or we did something wrong. And so that's the only thing I can relate it to, is that they don't want to do their job. But that's why they should be in these offices, because you are here to protect the community. You work for the community. So again, to just let it go like that and not even do the least bit is a travesty, not only to me, but to the community.
Any questions?
How has that affected your ability to? How's that affected your ability to even
To
work?
button my pants, to button my bra that I can't do that, to do my hair, which was a huge thing for me. It's affected many things. You have two hands. People out here, you use two hands, don't you, to do most things. And when one is taken from you, it is a huge disadvantage to do just things that we take for granted, in life. Because I can't tie shoes. I have shoes on right now with strings in them. I have to stick them in my shoes. And so those things frustrate me so much. And it just makes it makes me want to give up. And I don't want to give up because I am fighting. That's why I'm here right now.
Are there any additional questions? All right, well, thank you all for coming. For those who are watching this, please share this. Please like this. Please send letters to the governor's office on the behalf of Ms. Jalen Evans Jones and the Jones family, Mr. Eric Jones, the husband, asking the governor to do an independent investigation on this case. As we stated, first of all, I do want to give a few thank yous before we wrap up. First of all, I want to thank our legal redress committee for investigating this case. This complaint came to us in April, and we've been looking at this for quite some time, going over the different evidence that Mr. Eric Jones has provided. If there ever was an example of the type of husband you would want in this situation, when your wife has been harmed and you're seeking justice, I have to take off my hat to Eric Jones. He's been every bit of the type of husband that I hope to be with my wife if something were to happen to her. He had all the evidence, all the facts, all the different bills, and he put it together for us and made it very smooth for our legal redress committee to overlook this complaint and get to the point where we're at today. So I want to definitely thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Jones, we're going to continue to pray and fight for you. And I want everybody to understand, this is not just the Gwinnett NAACP. This is a state conference matter. We've sent this issue up to our national office. I talked to one of our board members a couple of days ago, and he was pissed off that we was treated that way by the district attorney's office. So that's why we're asking for an investigation to be done, not only into this case, but into her behavior and some of the missteps. I mean, all these stories about how people have gotten off with murder and kidnapping and other things due to missteps by the AG office, they've been treated like independent stories when we need to question whether, did we get better, going from Danny Porter to Patsy Austin Gasson, or did we get more of the same? That's a real legitimate question that needs to be asked. And at this point, it's up to you all as the media to piece this thing together and see if are we getting better from the AG's office, the local district attorney's office with this. As I stated before, if the state AG, he's, I guess, out running for governor, and I guess he's abandoned his job as AG, and his office is, I guess, on vacation right now, we need you to step up, because again, there's no way voters should be taking you seriously as a governor when you're not doing your job as state AG, when the Constitution and the statutes and the laws allow you to take over cases like this. So with that being said, I want to close us out. I want to thank the Jones family. I want to thank everybody that came out today, that's with the Jones family, all our NAACP members that showed up today, our member at large and chair who was responsible for putting this streaming platform together for us today. And y'all have a good evening. Continue to keep the Jones family in your prayers, and continue to send your letters, your emails to the AG's office, to Attorney General Chris Carr, as well as to Governor Brian Kemp. We will release their contact information online for you to send that information up. Thank you.